Casselberry, Florida, has a rich history that stretches back long before its official incorporation. Archaeological evidence suggests that Native Americans, known as the St. John's people, inhabited the area between 800 and 1565 CE. European settlement began to take shape in the 19th century, particularly during the Seminole Wars. In 1849, Fort Concord, a blockhouse, was built on the shores of Lake Concord to protect settlers amid conflicts with the Seminole tribe. This marked the beginning of a more permanent presence in what would eventually become Casselberry. After the Homestead Act of 1862, settlers started claiming land around Lake Concord and the triplet chain of lakes. One early pioneer, Stephen J. L. Hooker, nephew of the prominent Florida cattle king William B. Hooker, arrived in the 1850s and established a homestead. His family's presence helped lay the groundwork for the area's development, and the Hooker homestead, built in 1887 on Lake Griffin, remains the oldest surviving structure in Casselberry today. In the 1880s, real estate broker John W. Griffin began homesteading, purchasing land that would later contribute to the area's growth. The modern identity of Casselberry began to emerge in the 1920s with the arrival of Hibbert Casselberry, a businessman from Winnetka, Illinois. Visiting his wife's aunt in nearby Winter Park in 1926, he partnered with Gordon Barnett, a local fern grower, as a sales agent for Barnett's Fern Park estates. The two soon parted ways, and Hibbert purchased land around Fern Park, platting his own subdivision called Winter Park Ferneries. This area became known as Fern Park, and by 1928, it had its own post office. Casselberry's fern business flourished, transforming the region into a hub for fern production during the 1930s. In 1940, a pivotal moment occurred when Hibbert Casselberry pushed for the incorporation of the town of Casselberry. This move was partly a response to Gordon Barnett's attempt to incorporate Fern Park with a property tax system, which had gained traction in the Florida House of Representatives. Casselberry rallied residents with a vision of a tax-free town, promising to fund civic improvements himself. On October 10, 1940, the town of Casselberry was officially incorporated, encompassing parts of Fern Park Estates, with Hibbert as its first mayor. The tax-free status became a point of pride, even displayed on the town's water tower. World War II shifted the local economy away from ferns, which were deemed non-essential. Hibbert secured government contracts to produce bandoliers, bomb parachutes, and hospital tent liners, supporting the war effort. Post-war, Casselberry adapted again, acquiring a horse racing track and hotel that became a major Seminole County attraction. Despite its growth, the U.S. Postal Service denied Casselberry its own post office until 1959, due to a policy against naming offices after living individuals. Hibbert funded a contract post office in 1957, and the town finally got its official post office 2 years later. The town of Casselberry reincorporated as a city on July 25, 1965, reflecting its expanding population and infrastructure. Initially maintaining its tax-free stance, the city saw residents vote to introduce property taxes in 1976 to support further development. From a population of just 407 in 1950, Casselberry grew into a modern community of nearly 30,000 by 2018, covering about 8 square miles and featuring over 30 lakes and ponds, including Lake Howell and Lake Catherine. Today, Casselberry balances its historical roots with suburban growth, nestled 10 miles north of Orlando in Seminole County. Its evolution from Native American lands to a military outpost, agricultural settlement, fern industry hub, and finally a thriving city showcases a unique blend of resilience and adaptation.